go. Special edition of the Sunday Bunch. And if you want a lovely Sunday lunch, get yourself down at the Hastings Hill pub. It's absolutely bouncing down there today. It is chock-a-block. Even with the coronavirus kicking about, it's the busiest I've ever seen today. The Hastings Hill pub, the food is absolutely delicious. They have hand sanitizer all over the pub, so you're always cleaning your hands. But thanks for George and the team for letting us have the studio. And there's one thing before I get onto the panel I want to say, is that we are all 100% coronavirus free. We use hand sanitizer. We've had all the tests. These three have even had anal tests. But we are definitely coronavirus free. But I won't be shaking hands at the end. Right, so on the panel today we have the man himself. When you want, after a game, and you've had a bad game of football, and you want straight from the heart, passion review, straight 10 minutes after the match, you got Michael Bowers, absolutely fantastic YouTube channel. Well done, Michael. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Well, now that I've just put hand sanitizers on, I'm all right.
It smells nice.
So, whose is this? Is it Sean's? Or whose is it? Where do you get it from? It smells very strong.
It's Mr. Clean, Sean. And also,
Mr. Hygiene.
On the right-hand side, the dynamic duo, the two lads who go around and interview everybody, but unfortunately won't be interviewing people for a little while at this moment in time. We have Sean and Dino. They look really happy, don't they? For fuck's sake, man. Sean and Dino! Hey! Get in! Right, before we get on to the postponement of the season and all the horribleness to do with coronavirus, it is, on a serious note, it's not a nice virus going around. We have to think about that elderly people, especially my parents, everybody's parents in the 70s and 80s. These are the people who can't get out, and if they have underlying illnesses, these are where most of the deaths are coming from, so we need to look after the elderly people. Now, at this moment in time, there's panic buying going on with toilet paper and all sorts, with hand sanitizer, toilet paper, canned food, rice, pasta. Nobody out there can get these products on the shelves, and you have the elderly people going out once a week, twice a week, doing their weekly shop, and they cannot get these products, so they are now stuck. So we have to now, the supermarkets have got to take responsibility and limit the people to one item per shop. That's what it has to be. You get your 20, whatever it is, multi-pack of your toilet rolls, and you get one, and that's it. We've got to take care of the elderly people. They're the ones that are going to suffer with this coronavirus more than us younger folk. So, before we move on to the Blackpool postponement, we're going to go on to the Bristol Rovers match. I know it's a few days away now, and we're all still disappointed about it. But I want to go on to Michael first, because he was the one who gave that lovely, passionate display of affection on our SAFC Fan TV page, YouTube channel, or whatever you want to call it. Michael, what's your thoughts overall on the Bristol Rovers match?
If I tried to repeat my rant, I could not do it justice. Just go and watch it. Absolutely pathetic display. There was no gut, fight, heart, passion in that display whatsoever. And as I said in my own video, I believe the team in there should have had enough to beat a really out-of-form Bristol Rovers team. 1 win in 18 or whatever it was, and that was against a 10-man Blackpool side, by the way. So, and bearing in mind, Southend managed to beat them. So there was absolutely no excuse for us to go and roll over like we did. We've always got this knack of, for some reason, we always go through a run where we keep clean sheets, but now all of a sudden our defence is not taking responsibility for anything anymore. And I want to clear this up straight away. People say because Bailey writes out that we can't defend properly. That's absolute bollocks. Beforehand, we kept 3 clean sheets in a row before Bailey Wright joined and looked better defensively. So I don't want anyone giving me that argument. We should be able to take responsibility in a game like that and stop Clark Harris, who we should have known would have been a danger man, and just go and watch the first goal. It epitomised how pathetic we were at the back. You might want to stop me because I'll get too annoyed again.
But why was it so bad? Did these players not actually want to get promoted because most of them will lose their jobs at Sunderland?
Possibly, but you should
just sold on.
Well, maybe, but you should also have professional integrity. Who's going to want to take you on, knowing that you've thrown in the towel and stopped the team going up just because you won't be there anymore, more than likely? Yeah. Doesn't do well for them for character references, does it?
Out of the defenders on that night, who was the best defender, or were they all equally as bad?
Christ. So this is basically who's least shit then?
Yeah, who's least shit? Who got 3 out of 10 rather than 1?
Oh, I don't know. Willis by default, probably, but I couldn't name anyone off the top of my head. I'm just naming Willis because he's been our best defender over the whole season, up until recently, obviously, but no one took responsibility on Tuesday night. So the only player for me that really stood out was Semenyo. Was the only one who was actually trying to do anything. Everybody else just shirked it completely. Not good enough.
He did kind of remind me a little bit like a headless chicken, like a gooch where he runs and runs and runs with the ball and eventually loses it. But Sean, what's your thoughts on the Bristol Rovers match?
Well, the first half, I was trying to get a stream obviously in the house, and it was just bouncing all over the place. So thankfully, I didn't really see the first half, but it sorted itself out in the second half. Going to the game, I was actually quite confident. I think he made 2 changes. I think he brought in Scowen for Dobson, which I thought was the wrong thing to do, and it tells me straight away that Power is going to be sort of how can I put it? He's not going to drop Power. He's the captain. And I think that's wrong. It shows a weakness of the manager as well. If somebody's not playing very well, he's not going to drop them. So he brought Scowen in for Dobson. I thought Dobson's been playing well, so he's unlucky. And Semenyo for Gooch. I think it was them the 2 changes. He kept with Aftyer up front. But having been talking to some of my mates that Aftyer in the first half, if he didn't get took off after that first half, he would have been sent off. He was losing the spotlight.
Going on the Power situation, do you think it's Power's fault that, for whatever reason, Denver Hume couldn't head the ball at left back, so Power was actually playing left back for some point of the game? What's going on there?
Well, I can't recall that, but like you see it with the Power situation, you know, if he's playing well, that's fair enough. But I think even we've all agreed last week and last few weeks he's been below par, and he's, you know, I mean, if you play a system as well where the two of them sitting and Dobson's got to try and get forward, but Powers is sitting in front of the back three, it's harder for Dobson as well because he's not a type of player. But you know, I had a feeling. I was waiting for the teams to get announced. Now I had that feeling Scowen was going to come in for Dobson, and I think it's wrong, like. But you know, but like Michael says, the first goal. I mean, I did say the first goal, but I think it was a defensive error by, was it Willis or not? I can't remember. It was a good finish by the striker. Like, it was a good finish, way finisher, but.
Should never have had the time to get that finish on the wing. That should have been stopped in the build-up, and I don't know why
exactly,
it wasn't.
But just watching the second half, it was like, I'm thinking, that, you know, these players, if you want to get promoted, I mean, it just looked like they just weren't even bothered. You know, they just folded, and I mean, like, as Michael said, Bristol Rovers are a side which they haven't really got nothing to play for. We stuffed them at home, 3-0, and like they haven't won. I think they've won 1 game in 18. You know, that should have been a game for us to get the confidence back and get a few goals and win the game. Do you know what I mean? But we were absolutely gutless, pathetic, useless, absolute pile of shit, like, to be fair.
So Dean, I mean, Michael went down to the match and you got absolutely fantastic travelling away fans going to these games, and the team is just powder puff. The team put in an absolutely pathetic, weak performance for all those fans spending hard-earned cash. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
It is. I felt sorry for them because the players give them nothing to shout about. You know, you can get behind the team, but if the players aren't performing on the pitch, to give them something to shout about, and then fans get frustrated getting on the players' backs because we couldn't string a pass together all night. We couldn't keep the ball. If we could keep the ball, it was just around the back four like we always do, just sideways and backwards. Team selection, obviously Aftyer had the right to start, which I had no problem with, but like Sean did say, he just wanted to fight their defender or midfielder, whoever he was. He was going to get sent off, but the change to bring Wyke on baffled me because why is Wyke, like, I've got no confidence in Wyke scoring a goal, let alone getting anywhere near the goal. And you've got Greg on the bench who's accordingly been training extra hours. He's got himself back on the bench after he was frozen out by the manager for a while. And you bring Wyke on. What's Wyke going to do? Wyke's just come back from injury, so Wyke's obviously not fully fit yet because he was out last week because he had an injury. So bring Greg on. Do something different, because what we're doing with Lafferty, humping the ball up, wasn't working, so you got to change it. I agreed with Semenyo starting, because I think Semenyo warranted a start because he is something different, but I think Maguire hasn't been up to standard. I think he looks very tired, he's not performing, so why not drop him instead of Gooch? Because I think Gooch and Semenyo might be a bit more effective with pace, because Maguire isn't known for his pace. Like Sean says, Scowen, I've been waiting for him to come in, didn't really impress as much, but I think playing with Power, I think it's hard to come in and be next to a centre midfielder who's playing poorly. I mean, if he was with Dobson, it might look completely different. But for me, when you said Power's going to left back, Power doesn't go past the halfway line most of the game. He sits between the centre backs. What good are you? You're the centre back. You're a centre midfielder. You're supposed to run with the ball, drive forward, make forward passes, not be in the centre back position. And then Hume. Where's Declan John? Hume needs dropping badly. He's been very outperformed. He's not performing very well. And 09, I think 09's been playing quite poorly the last couple. It just seems like the team's just starting to just go down. And someone made a point that do these players want to get promoted, like you said, because they'll be out of a job? Because some of them will know they won't be in a job next year because they'll get moved on. So does that play a part in it? Because
good point.
When we're on a 8 unbeaten run, and now all of a sudden we haven't won in what 4, 5?
Yeah, 4.
We haven't scored a goal in. We haven't scored a goal in 3.
2 of the last 3, something like that.
Yeah, because obviously we won. It was 2-2 against Gillingham.
If you want to put this spin on it, 2 away games we haven't scored in a row.
I mean, we didn't. Did we create anything? Did we really create anything? Did we have a shot?
There was one half effort I think Semenyo had, and apart from that, no.
I know you appreciate this. What's your thoughts on Will Grigg coming up to 86 minutes? He actually had the first header on, sort of just over the top.
What's the point of bringing a player on 86 minutes? What's he going to do in 4 minutes, including added time?
Yeah,
pointless.
Exactly. Are you asking him to get a hat trick in 5 minutes?
What you're asking? What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
We didn't even attack most of the game. So them last 4 minutes, what's he expecting Grigg to do? I mean, the 6 minutes is normally when you're 2-3-0 up and you want your kids, like a young kid, to come on, get his first appearance under his belt. Bring in an experienced player like Grigg, who's according to 20 season goal scorer. I can't even get your words out.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm really pissed off. So for me, just Parkinson with his substitutions baffles us because, like you say, we're 2-0 down and he made 2 changes quite early, didn't he? Why not make the third one straight away as well? Why not be impactful? Right, this isn't working. Let's change it. Yeah. And he brings on Grigg with 86 minutes to go. Man, he's not going to do anything in 4 minutes.
This conference was where he's bringing them
exactly.
that late. We'll just get you still on mate, and we're 2-0 down, but just run around and see if you can
what Dino said about the white thing was spot on. Like, I rolled my eyes if Lafferty, if he was a walking second yellow card, in which case fair enough, I don't mind bringing him off there. But then as soon as White came on, I just gave up all hope of scoring because but what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Why, like I've said many times before, White is useless in the air, is useless in front of goal. He gets bullied far too much for his size, which isn't good enough. He should be doing better than that. But at least Grigg would have given me, you might have half a chance of Grigg scoring. I think, well, okay, give Grigg 45 minutes when he hasn't been playing for a while. He might be hungry to go and try and put right some wrongs, but bring in Wyke on, and then again when you bring Grigg on, when you're 2-0 down, when the game's already over, again... I've said it already.
Right, so there we go. It was an absolute abysmal performance now. And amongst all the doom and gloom, let's have a bit of fun, right? Let's pretend it's an alternate universe.
Alternate reality.
Alternate reality, that's it, yes, right? Let's pretend, right, the Blackpool match went ahead. Waverley Shaw was a sellout, made absolute fortune. Blackpool was bouncing, it was sunny, there was loads of donkeys on the pitch, but none in the Sunderland side. Sean, give me your match review of Blackpool versus Sunderland. What was the final score?
Sunderland 3, Blackpool 1.
Oh, fantastic! What happened?
Grigg scored a hat-trick as well.
Will Grigg scored a hat-trick? What happened though? How did he turn this around?
Right, obviously Philip Parkinson's given him a right welcome after the Bristol Rovers game. Philly was the assistant in that game as well.
Where did
Philly come in?
Straight from the show.
It was the motivator on the sideline and we're just... blitzed them
See, I had a rumour that Waverley decided to promise Will Grigg about 2 free pints if he scored a hat-trick. So good incentive.
Pints
well done, mate.
Well done. Dean, what's your match review of the Blackpool versus Sunderland match?
Didn't go.
You didn't go. Didn't see it. What a fan. Right, Michael, what's your opinion?
I didn't get heartbroken this weekend, so it was absolutely fantastic.
What was the score?
Well, Sean said it, didn't he? 3-1 to Sunderland. 3-1 Sunderland. No? It's strange, isn't it? Scoring 3 goals in one game.
Did Will Grigg score a hat-trick in that game, or did he score...
Oh, yeah, he did. I mean...
Your alternate reality, what was
I mean, one of the goals went in off Grigg's backside and whatnot, but, he stuck his arse out and put it into the bottom left corner.
Let's unplug from the Matrix and then let's talk about what's
right, alternate reality, right? Sunderland won 3-0.
Nice reference.
First goal, John McLaughlin boots the ball out, it goes to Max Power. Max Power runs through 3 or 4 defenders, passes the ball over to Hume crosses it over, and look who's running in the box, John McLaughlin heads the ball in the back of the net, 1-0 Sunderland. Second goal, John McLaughlin boots the ball out, straight to Max Power again. Max Power runs down the right, takes over 3 or 4 players, gives the logo a 9, the ball comes across, and there's John McLaughlin again, they hit the ball in the back of the net. Oh my God, what we watched searching. And then the third goal, John McLaughlin again boots the ball up, but this time he boots it to himself. He goes past one man, past two men, past the whole goddamn side. The goalkeeper brings them down in the box. Who takes the penalty? John McLaughlin! Hashtag Evo! Sunderland, get it! We better win a win! Woo!
Is this
What a match!
Is this the Matrix within the Matrix or something? That was. Goodness me, did you have a dream about it last night? Like,
That's what happened. Right, here we go.
First occasion, goalkeeper scores a hat trick. Right, I'll take over for him then.
Got to be
How's that?
excited there, like, didn't you?
Right, here we go. The coronavirus. The coronavirus.
At his best.
The coronavirus, right? What do you think, Michael, is going to happen with the rest of the season?
Is this what I think would happen or what I think should happen?
What do you think is going to happen? Your opinion? Is it going to get postponed completely?
I think these next... Well, it depends how successful these next few weeks are. It depends if the games actually start again on the start of April. If they do, I think that these fixtures will just get pushed on at the end of the season. And that's not just like League One, that's all the leagues, by the way. And I think that the Euros that was supposed to take place this year will get pushed back to 2021.
Possibly not.
That's what I think should happen if you want to have it like that. I mean, I've seen loads of people on social media absolutely desperate for the season to be cancelled so Liverpool don't win the league, which I find quite sad, to be honest. But I don't think it should be cancelled. I think this season, considering you've only got about a quarter of it left, why not finish it? Why not finish it and then whatever happens, really, as far as I'm concerned. If the next few weeks don't go all right, they'll probably push it back and postpone it even further or cancel it.
In your heart of hearts, when do you think the season will actually kickstart again?
Sometime in April, but I don't know when.
Do you think it'll be April, as early as the April?
Yeah, well, it might be late April, it might be mid-April. I don't know. It depends entirely on how these next few weeks go. It depends how many cases die down. Yeah, Mad's got his research up.
I mean, we look at the stats at the moment. Italy's got 21,000 cases. They've had over 1,400 deaths. You've got Iran, 13,000. South Korea, 8,000 cases. Spain, 7,500 cases. Germany, 5,500 cases. France, 5,000 cases. USA, 3,000 cases. England have gone from last week for 69 cases to 1,140, 21 deaths. That's happened in a week. If we're miles behind, I know we're a smaller country than the likes of Italy, but if we're miles behind Italy, do you really think it's going to start in April? I think the league will not start till May at the very earliest. That's just my opinion.
Well, in which case we're probably having our summer break now, don't we? I don't know. Ultimately, it should be, whatever decision's made should be made with the best interest of everybody in mind.
Safety,
especially for people who are of the, as the others have touched on earlier, the more elderly generation. They're the ones who are most at risk from this, or people who've got existing...
I just want to be all right. I just want to say one thing, like, I mean, this is my opinion, but I don't technically believe that Ukraine only have 3 cases. That's just the Ukraine. Right, so Sean, what's your thoughts? What do you think should happen, and what do you think will happen?
Well, I think it should. Well, I think, like, first and foremost, you've got to think of the safety of, well, the supporters, the players, and things like that, which the government have done. They've cancelled for 3 weeks. But do I think it'll start in 3 weeks? No, I don't. I think it could be. I mean, I heard something yesterday, and you kind of hear just different rumours. I heard September. But I'm thinking, you've got to finish all the seasons. You can't just call this season call off and say it's a void. You can't do that. That's just not right. You've got to finish the season. Do you know what I mean? First and foremost. I think I went about 6 weeks, but it could be. I mean, it could be longer. I mean, they said minimum 3 weeks, but I think it's going to be longer than that. I do. But I mean, there's some cases. You know, say Italy. It's worse than their company, but you know, like Michael said there, you've heard some people say about obviously can't afford just because Liverpool's winning the league by about 20 odd points. That's sad. That, like, I mean, I know, you know, it'll be Man United supporters and Everton and.
I can understand them doing it, yeah, but
but it's just that way. Do you know what I mean? It's like the season finished now. Where are we? 7th.
Yeah.
We'll be outside the playoffs. Would, do you know what I mean? I think it could take a lot longer than what they said. Like, to be fair.
So, Sean, you think that it should be played completely?
Yeah.
But what do you think will happen? Do you think they will complete it? Do you think they'll just do something different?
I think they've got to. I mean, I think they've got to.
No, they've got to, but will they? Will they run out of time? Or will they put next season's back 2 or 3 months?
Well, I think this is... I mean, I've been thinking about this. I mean, just for argument's sake, you know, it happens in, say, 2 months' time, the season gets started again and it finishes late, right? And the Euros, as Michael said earlier on, gets maybe... I don't know, maybe there's been talk of it getting postponed until Christmas time, the Euros. But, you know, there's easy little excuses, these soft footballers, right? Obviously, if it's, you know, like the pre-season now, I think it's about 10 weeks off now in the pre-season. Well, you know, in the day, they get paid enough, so they'll have to cancel the holidays in Dubai and this, that and the other and concentrate on the football, because that's what, in the day, that's what they're paid for. They're paid good enough money to be footballers, and they're lucky to be footballers as well. So, you know, having that attitude, like, oh, well, what about pre-season? And like, is that going to be excuses for next season as well? Like, oh, well, we've had no pre-season, this, that and the other. Bollocks, you know what I mean? But like you say, going back to what you were saying, I think the season's got to be be finished. They can't just like void the season. You know, I mean, it's not fair on the teams. It's going to cause a little bit of a hassle with everything. But the safety of everybody is paramount. You know what I mean? That's got to be the thing. Firstly, you know what I mean?
So, Dean, what do you think should happen? What do you think will happen? And if this season does actually go and loses 3 or 4 months, could they make next season actually a lot shorter?
See, it's a funny one because, like, with them saying that they should resume in the 3rd of April, they said, didn't they?
That's a minimum.
That's a minimum. So if it gets worse, and more people's getting it, they'll have to put it back even more because there's more people at risk. But the only way I think you can combat it is start on the 3rd, but every single game has to be played behind closed doors for the remainder of the season to get the season over and done with. Because you can't cancel the season. You can't, because then you basically say, right, wherever you finished, that happens. There's still 9 games to go. We can finish in the playoffs. Top 2's gone, so playoffs can make it. So if them just say, right, we'll cancel it, it's unfair on the teams who are like literally 1 point, 2 points away from playoffs. So you're robbing them, and then, like you say, Liverpool. Everyone knows Liverpool's won the league. That's done, right? But the teams who can like possibly save themselves from relegation, I mean, you're going to screw over a lot of teams if you cancel the season. So the only way you can do it as safe as possible is play every game behind closed doors, because you're going to have. I know having no crowd's crap, and we've seen it on the telly. It's rubbish. Having no atmosphere, it's terrible. But if it's the safest way to get the season over and done with, just do it. People who've got season tickets, because everyone should be signed on the SAFC website. Everyone who's got season tickets should get the games streamed free for everyone who's got a season ticket, and for everyone who doesn't have a season ticket, obviously they'd have to pay the £6 or the £10 or whatever. So that means the club's still getting money in. People are still watching the games, and it's safer for everybody from the safe of their own homes. So that's what I think they should do. But what will happen? I don't know. I think this is the scariest moment of everyone's life at the minute. Like, obviously, like there's nothing like this has ever happened apart from like when it was like swine flu, Ebola, and all that stuff. But this seems to be, like you say, killing elderly people, and elderly people do go to games. Yeah. So it's going to be the next 3 weeks are going to be terrible. Like this weekend's been awful. It's been awful with no football, no match of the day, no nothing. It's been terrible.
They have to make sure all the clubs and the club players are all isolated, because of what happens if like some of the players and sub clubs do have it. So then other clubs not going to want to play them clubs because some of their players are in contact with the players who have it. So it's going to be difficult to make sure everyone is free of it first before you set the season ahead. Otherwise, you could be passing it from team to team as well.
That's a good point, right?
And also the smaller clubs will lose a lot of revenue, so really they should be subsidised by a FA or there should be some financial backing for the smaller clubs who have to play behind closed doors.
Well, isn't this the point of having the 3 weeks off so you can kill the virus, so every single player is isolated for the next 2 to 3 weeks?
But does that mean every single player won't be in contact with their family? Are they going to be isolated?
I know, it's one of them things,
it's a grey area, isn't it?
Like how do you combat this? I mean, like the 3 weeks is basically to isolate everyone, every single team and everything, like away from other teams and stuff like that, to try and kill it. But like you say, people come in contact with families, friends, relatives, and all that stuff, and them could have it. So it's one of them. I mean, how like you say, Callum Hudson-Odoi's got it, Mikel Arteta's got it. There's other players who have actually got it. Has anyone in League One been confirmed to have it?
I don't know. I know the Portsmouth team's been isolated because they played at Arsenal. So I mean, it just depends. A lot of, I mean, they say it's 1,000 cases, but there's also, they reckon there's 10,000 cases undetected at this moment in time.
Exactly. That's just the confirmed ones. Like you say, people have still got it, and people don't know about it because they're isolating themselves in their own homes. Because if you get it, you're not allowed to go to the GP or the hospital because they've been told you've got to isolate yourself. Do you know what I mean?
We can tell the watch our answer 20 seconds and stay in the house. In China, they're going around in these big trucks spraying their stuff around the streets and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, if I think personally they've got to finish the season at some point behind closed doors is probably the best way to do it. And obviously, you give there some financial backing to the smaller clubs who can't afford to do this, and obviously the owners who can't afford to keep the club open. But they could or they might just suspend the season the way it is now, and then say Liverpool's the champions, the top 5 they go into the Champions League and Europa League, and then the top 6 are in the playoffs in League One. But there's a lot of grey areas. Some clubs may want to take legal action over that. Do you think that's possible, Michael?
It could do, yeah. But I mean, like the point Dino was saying earlier, like if you're going to play everything behind closed doors, the Premier League clubs won't have a problem with it because the TV money will be coming in anyway. There'll be enough people probably watching it anyway. But clubs down, especially like lower leagues 1 and 2, even look at clubs that aren't us. You look at like Bolton as a good example, Southend, Tranmere. They're going to really be hitting hard by it. So I don't envy the government in what decision they're going to have to try and do, because there's going to be repercussions, whatever decision that they come across. Obviously, there's hardly going to be any scenario where everyone's going to come out like, oh yeah, that was a great decision, wasn't it? But I don't know what you can do.
A season is like, in the Premier League, it's
38 games.
Aye, 38 games. So it would be unfair if they end the season now and teams who's in and around the relegation zone, they get out. You can't just end the season now. That's kind of happened. Yeah. Sorry, like it's kind of happened.
Do you think it was wrong for them to do it on the Friday because like people have booked like hotels, trips away, and all that. Shows like Philly, and then they cancel it on the Friday, and like you say, I was going down to Blackpool for the weekend. There was a lot of
just a bit of leave on you.
I left.
Wasn't on you?
This is my beef out away. I don't go anywhere. I'm very sheltered. Like this weekend away was like my holiday. This is my week away, even though it was only 2 days.
The government spoiled it.
And it wasn't the government. It was the FA.
I don't like Boris Johnson that much. My political views are not important on this, but he did try and keep the matches going over the week. He wanted the games to go ahead over the weekend. It was the AFL and the Premier League that decided to cancel it all off. So the government did try and keep all the games going. But he said on Thursday there's going to be matches played at the weekend, and then we'll see after the weekend. But then it was the FA and AFL who came out and said, right,
they wanted to stop it.
I mean, what was said, like, the Friday was a very dubious day, as Dino said, to cancel it, because again, not even just people who were planning to go, people probably would have already gone. Just an example.
Well, I was leaving.
Exactly.
I was going to leave. He put a half shift in. He was buzzing. He was.
Exactly the point. Like, say for example, I don't know, Sheffield United coming up to Newcastle. How many Sheffield United fans would have already made the trip up here? Probably.
Some of them were already at South Shields supporting the South Shields. There was 3,000 people at the South Shields game. That didn't get called off. There was 3,000 people there, and they reckon they've had people from Wales. I mean, Wales, down Sheffield, Swansea. They reckon that they even had Holland fans.
There you go. That's another one.
Joe, I can understand as well. My mistake as well. Young made a point. The horse race in Cheltenham. That's continued.
That was already started, really. That was in the flow of things before. And I mean, before the AFL and Premier League stopped everything, I mean, you got thousands and thousands of people coming over from Ireland. They were already in the country. It would have cost them a lot more money to sort of go by. It was already happening. I think things now are going to take a bigger turn. I mean, I cannot see the Euros going ahead at all because
I'd be very surprised.
The leagues are more important.
So then, what happens with the World Cup? Because you got 2020, 2022 in it. So does that get pushed back another year? So that means the World Cup and the Euro format will be knackered for the rest of the time.
That's the problem with the qualifying for the World Cup. It's going to clash with the Euros if it's a summer.
Well, you know what you should do? Nations League as well.
You know what you should do? Just say, right, everyone's just in the World Cup. Fuck it, just going for it. So instead of having the qualifiers, instead of postponing the World Cup,
I like that idea.
In the World Cup.
So instead of putting the World Cup back until 2023, still go ahead, but just having a massive World Cup, just get every single country in, not out round from the start.
I would love to see that. Is probably idealistic, but I would love to see that, mate.
The World Cup in 2022, is that not in Qatar, and that's getting played in November, December anyway.
So that's already
So if the Euros get played in November, December, it'll coincide 2 years after. Do you know what I mean?
They might just make the World Cup a little bit bigger and say there's no qualifying rounds. Everybody's just in the World Cup. We'll just have more.
I think that's what I should do.
Think how much revenue that would probably generate for the likes of
companies who's never been.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I know
South Africa, Saudi Arabia,
Scotland.
They had the dig. I know we're talking about non-league there, South Shields. I know Ballymumba is at South Shields this moment in time, but the Vanarama leagues yesterday went ahead. The Northern League and the Southern League, I think it was, and there was a bit of an uproar about that, saying them should have been cancelled. Spennymoor match went ahead. People were saying those matches should have been cancelled. I think they're the last matches to go ahead. I think them leagues will be cancelled now to coincide with the rest of the leagues. But when we eventually get the season going again, is everybody positive that the first game will be Blackpool?
It's got to start off from where you were, where you would imagine, but then I don't know.
And the most important thing, we Philly can still have his show.
You know what? I think I know what they're going to do. So do you know these next 3 weeks? They'll push them back. So when we come back, it'll be the match on that day. What we should have had anyway.
So you mean? Let me see if I get this right. So you mean, for example, if it goes ahead in 3 weeks, we'll start with Shrewsbury, go up to say Rotherham, last game of the season, do those fixtures, and then do the postponed ones after. That's what I think should happen.
I think that's what will happen.
I bet you play.
It probably won't.
Play the games midweek. I bet they play Blackpool. And Southend.
I'll tell you what. You've got to remember then. Everyone else is going to be screwed more than we are.
Blackpool's got to be on a weekend, isn't it?
Well, you remember that in the next 3 weeks. The next 3 years. Yeah, they're better because we've got bloody tickets. You better remember that the next couple of weeks, the only real change for Sunderland's schedule, just for us, I can only speak for Sunderland here, is Blackpool would be rearranged because Southend was going to get postponed anyway, wasn't it?
International thing.
Let's be honest, there was barely any way Southend was going to be played.
So in fact, you've only missed 2 games.
Yeah.
Really,
Well, yeah, because we would have had Bury, wouldn't we?
It's only one effectively, really.
That's only us.
Yeah, that's why I said.
No one cares about everyone else.
I'm only just speaking on. Actually, does that mean you should want everyone else to have really big fixture kitchens?
Yes, because we've had to deal with it. Like we
might have half a chance of doing something.
So, Michael, because of the postponements or the rescheduling of these games, is there any smaller clubs in League 2 and League 1 that could possibly go bust, or should they never ever be allowed to go bust? Should the AFL actually subsidise them?
I think the latter to it. It depends. I think every case has got to be looked at as individualistic. It depends on. Like Bury's the classic example recently. What happened with them? Should that have been allowed to happen? Sometimes I think for me the FA and the EFL don't really aren't proactive enough anyway in trying to deal with a lot of different clubs. But go on, Dino.
Well, why don't right? These big rich clubs, the Man Cities, the Liverpools, help the other teams. Do you know what I mean? No team should ever go bust. No matter how much you hate a team, no team should ever go bust. Simple as that. It's horrible to know that Bury don't have a team to support anymore. Yeah. Bury should have never went bust. So the big teams, the big earners who get millions and millions and millions and billions of pounds for TV money should be given at least half. Teams should just be chipped in, keep that team afloat.
That could have been us if it wasn't for Stuart Dunn, couldn't it?
How much do you think it would cost to actually save Bury? How much do you think it would actually cost to save Bury?
But the reckon it was only going to be about 2 or 3 million or something.
So why couldn't the biggest club local to Bury, like Manchester United, give them Man City, give them some money?
Even if you look at it, depends what you look at this, because everyone will probably Liverpool, Man City, probably one of the richest ones right now going. They'll probably argue, well, why should we have to do that? It's not a problem. I don't agree with that view. I don't think it's right. But you look at 5 million as an example. That's peanuts to Man City.
But with the same Man City on the same. Imagine this reality what you were talking about before. That Man City were in the same position as Bury, where they didn't have the millionaires and then were scraping and needed some money. Do you not think they would be begging like Bury were? But they say it's not our problem. That could be your problem someday.
Well, Man City were in the 3rd division not that long ago.
We're just using Man City as a case study here.
Joe Royle was the man, Charlie.
In that Bury situation, for me, if Man City give Bury some money, then they said, right, but on the other hand, I want you to take some of our kids into your team and play them in the first team to give them some experience. That probably would have worked out.
That would probably help Bury as well, to be fair.
Good point, don't know what he's doing.
If you see a weird shadow behind Dino's face, then you know why.
Does anybody actually think the non-leagues will keep continuing, or will they be suspended as well?
I don't know, because who's in charge of it? Who's in charge of them? If it's not the AFL.
I know Vanarama, they sponsor the non-league.
They sponsor the conference.
But
can they afford to suspend them though? Can they afford to go so many weeks without the
Under
game?
the FA, still, it comes under the FA, doesn't it?
And we know the FA are so great at dealing with everything.
And if they go ahead, would anybody here be happy to go and watch non-league matches?
I've been to
I've
Shields matches.
I've got the South Shields.
I've been to Shields. I've been to
I've been-
Wembley. I went.
South Shields, Kate said,
Has
I've been to them.
he got a season card? Richie? Richie's got a season card?
There's a few lads I know who are season ticket holders at South Shields.
gone then.
But like yesterday, there had 3,000 people there. People like to go and support the local club. People don't want to go a weekend without football, so they will go to a South Shields, for example. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I wasn't working yesterday, I would have went to Spennymoor, but I was at work till once. I didn't have the time because I enjoyed my last time at the Spennymoor. It was a great little ground, great support, great team, and the facilities are absolutely fantastic. You can actually take your pint and you can drink it on there as you're watching the match. You know? So people having 3 or 4 pints during the game. You got the players literally. You can stand here and the goal is just there. You get the action really close up.
It's different. It's a different experience because you're so close to the pitch, and like when you're young and you see the likes of Barley Mumba, who was playing England under 19s and 18s, he plays for Sunderland, and you see him dead close. Do you know what I mean? I've played with the bloke before, like football wise. Like I've played against him. Sometimes he comes along on a Thursday and plays as well. He's
Like,
a
just
good footballer, nice lad.
Just a thought, should pressure Dino to get Ballymumba on SAFC Fan TV, like, who you know.
The owner of Spennymoor, your pints they're cheap, your food's cheap. It's a really great, well-run club.
Do you think that'd be good though? Imagine if you could drink in the steam like that on your seats. I think that'd be class though. Having like a pint as you watch it.
You've forgotten you've forgotten the type of stewards we've already got. So no,
and that would never happen. But
It would just take one individual to throw something on the pitch.
that's the thing.
But things get thrown on the pitch anyway.
Do you think that would matter?
But we have good top security now. Someone will say, "What? Somebody holding the pint on the pitch, the band and the band for life." So,
but put it this way:
why not?
Because you can't take your pint up to your seat.
We're not bloody £4.40 a pint, mind, Stuart Donald. Down to £3.
the thing that really the thing that really sticks out for me is when you go to a team like, say, South Shields, Spennymoor or Gateshead, for example, it makes you appreciate, just like South Shields is a good example, the pitch is really close to the stands.
Yeah.
It makes you think, like, this is what football should be. Like, there's a lot of, like, the football, the higher up you go, the more distant fans are from players.
From the pitch,
and it really puts it into perspective, actually.
And the stewards are really friendly at the non-league matches. They're really,
it feels like a more family community. It feels like a more family community feel, doesn't it?
Do you know what the worst thing is though? When we go to away games, the stewards seem proper friendly with us, don't you? You see them like cuddling our supporters, and then when you're at our stadium, our stewards are awesome to us.
If you went with me, you'd be alright.
I mean, like stewards.
You'll be the most wanted man in the stadium.
When we go to away games, the stewards seem dead friendly. They're happy enough to let you stand certain places and stuff. Like we went to Birmingham, I went, "Where's that seat, mate?" He went, "Sit where you want, mate. Just sit where you want."
But even then, even if you look at Matt himself, he's had this type of problem. I don't know how we've gotten to the topic of stewards, by the way.
I've had problems in the past.
You and Mike Morgan as well had problems with stewards.
But this season I've had no problems at all. This season I went even down to the touchline and the 2 stewards on the touchline. They were laughing, they were carrying on, they were watching us. And I was like, I don't want to get them in trouble or anything, but they were really good stewards. They're dead friendly, no problems whatsoever. But I want to go back to the football, back to Sunderland now.
Fair enough.
How can Phil Parkinson, Michael? What can he do to turn this season around and get us in the playoffs? Because I think top 2 is out of it now.
Yeah, I think barring because the thing is we can't keep relying on everyone else. Well, if this is assuming the season continues and whatnot, by the way, but we cannot rely on everyone else dropping points because we keep getting chance after chance after chance after chance to close the gap on the top 2. And really, the Gillingham Bristol Rovers should have been 6 points if you're serious about going up in the top 2. The fact you've only taken 1, disgusting, to be honest. I'm guessing these 2 have got the table. I can see it from here, but we can't keep relying on everyone else dropping points. So that's for me. I agree with you. That's gone.
Now, there's one thing for me that could benefit Sunderland out of this whole, horrible situation.
Say, yeah.
Now, I don't know the situation with Bailey Wright, but could he be fit for the rest of the season if it's cancelled for another month?
I thought about this myself even before this whole coronavirus thing started, and I did think, you know what, if we're finished in the playoffs, because Bailey Wright, remember, was it mid-February, he was out for 8 to 12 weeks. So granted, I'm thinking best case scenario here, that 8 to 12. I don't know if we've got some. I know it's distracting, man.
He's blowing his own trumpet.
Anyway, that's funny. But anyway, Bailey. The best case. I'm thinking best case scenario. Bailey Wright out for 8 weeks, so he could be out for longer for all I know. So yeah, it might give him more of a chance of playing for us, to be honest. Beforehand, I thought, well, if we're going to be in the playoffs, hopefully, Bailey Wright will be back in time for the playoffs anyway. But even there,
needs to get fit.
That's my problem. But hey, I'm thinking half optimistically. But So yeah, maybe if this is postponed longer, then yeah.
8 games remaining. How many of those 8 games have we got to win to get in the playoffs?
To get in the playoffs.
I know.
6 probably.
6.
But actually, no. Actually, I think probably about 5 or 6. I think that'd be enough. I honestly don't think the playoffs will finish on that higher number of points.
Wickham, who's just below us, right, and they're not even in the playoffs, have got 2 games in hand as well.
What was the argument I made last week, though? Just because teams have games in hand does not matter. One of them's against Coventry as well.
Is it?
I will point that out.
But
I'm telling you that top 6 will not finish on that higher point standard because everyone takes points off each other.
So, Sean, what's Phil Patterson got to do to turn this season around?
I think he's got to just change it up. I think he's got to change the system. I think we're being worked out. I think we have for the last few games. But when things were going well, though, as well, I like said, even when you're winning games, it's still good to make a couple of changes here and there, or even a change here and there. But he's just stuck with the same squad, and it's the whole starting 11 just went stale. And then, you know, he made a couple of changes when they were forced upon him. I just think he's got to change the system and totally baffle the opposition teams because they've worked this out now. So in the playoffs, they're not. When we haven't got the ball, we'll go 5 at the back, and when we have got the ball, we've obviously got 3. It's 3-4-3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he needs to just change something up. But I mean, are the players as well? Is the players good enough? I mean, watching that Bristol Rovers game, I'm worried big time. Like,
if your defenders and your wing backs are good enough, surely 5 defenders is enough to stop somebody from putting the ball in the back of the net.
Well, yeah, that's correct. But if they're not defending as a unit and they're not reading situations,
so they're not doing the job, are they?
No, they're not doing the job. It's like Michael said this earlier in the season. Individual errors. You know what I mean? They're more costly than, you know. I mean, you can defend as much as you want, but then if somebody's got a mistake in them, I'm not blaming Ozturk, but you know, if there's a mistake in them, you know, occasionally, I just think he's got to he's got to have a word with them players and say, look, do you want to get in the playoffs? Because we've got 8 games left, and like I think we have to win 6 of them to even get in the playoffs. Because the top two now is gone. Forget that. That is totally gone. Where he's got to try and get in the playoffs. I mean, at the minute we're 7th out the playoffs. Do you know what I mean? And there's teams below us, and I might have said, well, they've got to win the games, and if they do, we're in big trouble.
If they do,
we're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Like, it's out with our hands now. My mistake as well.
So, Dean, I mean, Bristol Rovers did the homework. Bristol Rovers, you know, turned their season around. They performed really well as individuals. They were in our faces. They riled us up. They knew what to do to win that game of football. So, what's Phil Parkinson got to do? Are you agreeing with Sean? Has he got to change the formation?
He's got to drop power.
Drop power.
He's got to drop power. I think power slows things down. He's not positive when he's on the ball. I mean, if you're going to win games, you need some positivity in the team. And if someone's only doing backwards and sideways passes, you're not going to win a football game, are you? Because that's what half the team do. But I think power's one of the main culprits of that. I mean, spraying a ball across the field looks good, but it's not effective. Effective pass is making a pass between the lines, driving past somebody, having a shot at the edge of the box. I mean, I know he scored against Fleetwood. You know why that was? Because he was in the box. He got forward, but half the time he doesn't do that. He sits back, and when you've got a midfielder who sits back, it hinders your attack because you're one less attacker. I mean, you can only Bristol Rovers broke us down because players were getting forward. Their centre midfielders were burning past our players. They were making positive passes, positive movements. We don't do that. I mean, we've got a striker in Lafferty who. He isn't the type of player to get in behind. I'd rather see a striker try and get in behind the defence because pace kills. And if you don't have pace, you're not gonna get in behind anyone unless their defenders are really, really, really slow. But he needs to change something. Bringing Scowen in was good, but he didn't look good. But I think that's because he was next to power. I mean, Dobson works really hard. We can see what kind of player Dobson is now. We're starting to see more of it. But to drop Dobson and leave Power in because Power's the captain. I mean, this is what the problem I had last season with Honeyman. When Honeyman wasn't playing well, it was time for him to be dropped, and he wouldn't get dropped because he was the captain. And I know Michael was saying, it's a scapegoat, but it's not, because when Honeyman was out the team, we played better. What's to say if we drop Power, the team totally changes the way we play?
But I mean,
I could see Michael shaking his head there.
No, it still is a scapegoat for me. I still think that Honeyman was it last year, and I think Power is this year. I do agree with you in the sense that if a player's captain and they're getting played just because of that, that's wrong. If a player's
totally wrong.
Can you not see that happening now, though?
Sorry?
Like, can you not see that happening now? I mean, what's Power done to deserve to start? Really?
You're best off asking Parkinson that question.
But I'm asking you though, because I know do you agree with Power starting these last couple of games, or do you think
if you go back to what I said last week, I actually said I agree with Power being dropped.
So do you
I
think
did say that in last week's panel.
the whole max power thing is the only thing that Phil Patterson's got to do to change
It's
the
not just down to him.
Not just that, but I think that's a big reason why we're not scoring goals, because it's very negative. I mean, Hume's very positive in what he does, but he's not being performed well. So you'd think you brought in a player like Declan John.
I've heard he's injured again. That's just what I've heard.
Oh God, it's always something.
Or a little niggle or something.
Well, I mean, we haven't seen him. What's the point in loaning the player and not playing him? Like, we had this problem with, who was the player who...
Leeds United player.
No, it was McNulty, wasn't it? Like, McNulty was an effective player, but he was always injured. Like, why are we signing players if they're not fit and getting injured? I mean, we were linked with him last season, but Hume, if Hume's the only left back, you've got a problem straight away. We did have that Leeds player. Obviously, he was always injured.
Yeah.
Brad de Bot, right?
And right back, like, O'Nine's not really a right wing back, but he's made his position his own because he's played really well. But now he's starting to get found out a bit, or he's just dropping his performance because he's played loads and loads of games, and he might be getting tired now. But you bring in McLaughlin, and McLaughlin, like, obviously I said give him a chance. I mean, he was in League One Team of the Year last year and all that stuff, but I think his time's just done, to be honest. Like, I think he'd rather play O'Nine being tired and playing really bad than putting McLaughlin in.
What bugs me is that I hate the long hoofed ball. Against Bristol Rovers, we're just hoofing the ball. We're losing it every time. We cannot hold the ball on the ground and pass. I want to see the ball passed around on the floor. So one great pass from Dobson to, I think it was, to Lafferty last week. I seen Gooch try to do it once against Bristol Rovers. It almost came off. The only player I've seen that we have that can actually do a long high pass was Bailey Wright. Nobody else can do it. So without actually losing the ball, and we're on the back foot straight away, and everybody's playing too deep. Keep the ball on the ground. If you get past their midfield with one pass, because they're pressing, high pressing, we get past their midfield, there's gaps all over the place. But we keep losing the ball, we keep hoofing the ball forward. Flanagan cannot pass the ball to defence. Ozturk's terrible passing the ball to defence. Against Bristol Rovers, we're just losing the ball too much. Why can't we pass the ball?
What do we do in training? Like, we train how many times a week? And you see it on, like, Instagram, that the passing 1-2 touch, like close quarters. Now you don't see it on the pitch. They look scared to pass it to each other.
Do you think how the cricketers play football when they train? Think we play cricket? Because we're not playing. We can't be practicing football, can we?
I think the big problem for me is, I think it's been all season, is we haven't got a midfielder who can dictate the game. A midfielder who can get the ball, and now you at the early one, which was class, where you were seeing Max Power took 3 or 4 players on. Max Power's never took a player on, I think,
in his life.
We haven't got a player who can take a player on in the middle, who can get it and say, look, give me the ball and I'll drive it forward. That's the big problem.
See, I would argue on the books we do have that sort of player, but he never played. Who's Gowan? I'm only going off the fact that, again, my mates were trying me, and they were, so granted, yeah, it's only 20 minutes, so bear that in mind.
But you've seen him on Saturday?
Sorry?
You've seen him on the Tuesday.
Was this another alternative reality?
No. What did you think of him on Tuesday when you watched him?
Same as the rest of the team, didn't take responsibility.
I think you can't really judge him on that. I think the team.
Oh no, that's fair enough. No, like I said, I mean, again, I keep making the argument. I know you don't like Power, but the whole Power can't be held accountable for the whole team not doing their jobs.
That's
you know. But like again, no one. For me, I've said it many times, and I said it on my rant on the channel. The reason Bristol Rovers beat us. And don't tell me they're a good team, because they're not. The reason they beat the reason that, well, okay. In terms of form, they weren't anyway. I know that, obviously, to be fair to them, they had a very good first half of the season, then tailed off. So I'll retract that statement. But they simply wanted it more than we did.
Which is worrying, isn't it?
I know it sounds like. I know Dino looks like he's going to disagree here, but for me, right? I was at the game on Tuesday. There was not one single Sunderland player, apart from maybe some NU, who tried to take responsibility on, who made sure they did their jobs. No one did it. Bristol Rovers wanted it more. Maybe we wanted it, I don't know, to an extent, but they certainly wanted it a hell of a lot more than we did.
But it comes down to passing as well. How many times was the ball passed to Scowen? He had to overreach for it every time. There was nobody controlling the passing. So
shouldn't everyone else work hard?
Every player was taking a bad touch because the ball was never near them. And you got Semenyo, who did run through 3 or 4 players, but his final ball was absolutely garbage. Overreaching again, the next player. We just cannot pass the ball.
But in which case, that goes back to what Dino said. What do they do in training then?
Exactly.
What's the coaching team and the management team doing training then?
They must be able to pass the ball in training, so when they get in the pitch,
surely when you get into football, passing a ball is one of the minimum things you should be able to do.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
You know.
Would you stick with 3-4-3, or would you change the system?
You're probably going to have to be honest. You're going to have to change the system, and unless there's going to be something that's really effective drilled into these players, then what's the point in sticking with it?
See,
Dean,
Mike,
4-3-4-3 or change it?
well, first of all, Michael go like he says like he expects Wigan to win that. I don't go into any game expecting Wigan to win because it's 11v11. My mistake makes this point. Nobody's much better than everyone. We've all got the same kind of players, like League One athletes, as you call them. There's no really standout players, and it's up to the tactics and the way to play to win a game. Because like if Bristol Rovers can beat us, that means Bristol Rovers can beat most of the teams in this league. It's just how you conduct yourself on the pitch at that certain time. And obviously, like you say, that it's either them wanting it more or their tactics work better than ours. Do you know what I mean?
But ultimately, if you're wanting to get, well, whether we think top two's gone now, which is fair enough. But beforehand, the aim was top two. If you want to get in the top two, you've got to go to Bristol Rovers and win.
Let's see. Donald, sorry, mate.
Do you know what's really worrying for me as a Sun supporter, right? The last 2 seasons, right, have we actually been in a situation where we've challenged for the title or challenged for the top two? Have we?
No,
We've getting close. And then
At one stage when we had them 4 games in hand or 3 games in hand, we bottled it. Like, because if we won them, we would have been top.
Yeah, it was the occasion I've gone on about before when we beat Rochdale and we had 2 games in hand on Barnsley and we were only behind them on goal difference. But again, doesn't take it.
The club the size of ours, we haven't in the 2 seasons we haven't been close or looked like getting in that top 2. That's massively worrying.
Which although we don't have the God-given right to do that, that is embarrassing. That is embarrassing.
See, you're going on about big club. Look at Bolton, man. Look at Bolton.
But my point was going to be though that because of the size we are, we should be able to attract. We should be in a position to attract the best players of the league to help us get promoted.
But the thing is, though, it goes down to location. Some players don't want to come to the North East. Like Lyle Taylor didn't want to come to the North East.
No. Well, Lyle Taylor come out on Twitter and says Stuart Donald, everything was agreed. But all he wanted was a scoring bonus. He even put on Twitter, he went, all I want was a scoring bonus, and Stuart Donald says no.
Right, that's fair enough. But see, Stuart
exactly.
Donald made a massive mistake this end of last season. We want 100 points. We're nowhere near 100 points. We can't even get the same tally as we did last season. That's how bad we're getting. That's how bad this season's been. We can't even reach the maximum points as we did last season.
I agree in hindsight saying the 100 points. I didn't bother me at the time. I thought it was showing ambition personally, but it does put everyone under pressure straight away.
Be realistic, 100 points.
But then you've got to back that up though. If you're saying, I want a 100-point season, you've got to get them players. And did he get them players?
That's fair. No,
that's
not just him.
Point,
the recruitment team didn't.
Was he putting the money forward to get them players, Michael? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe not, but like we've had this argument over Stuart Donald before. Like it's not all down to Stuart Donald to try and get the players. That's the recruitment team's job.
I know.
You don't always have to spend money to sign the best players.
In France today, it's been announced
Helps,
that
but you don't have to.
they're closing all the cafes, they're closing the shops. So
I've seen that on Twitter.
So I mean, we're about 3 weeks behind France. So say in 3 weeks' time, before the football season's supposed to kick off again, we're going to start closing, cafes and restaurants in this country, possibly. And that means if the start of the match is the start of the football season, it's not going to be like into the summertime. Does that mean we have to change the transfer window as well? So that may have to change as well. So when it comes to the transfer window at the end of the season, I'm going to ask you 3. Which 3 players do you want shot of, regardless if we're in the Championship or League One for next season?
Should we start with Dino first? Because Dino had a bit of a...
Dino had
a bit of a...
Number one, we all know
Who is it going to be?
Victim.
Right. For me,
if Max Power isn't on this list, I'll be surprised.
Wyke. Bye, Wyke. Wyke, no doubt, he's done. I've had 2 seasons of him and he's shown us nothing in them 2 seasons. He's fully fit. Last season he had the excuse that he was injured. He came back from injury. He had this season, done nothing.
He is a nice man.
But yeah, I'm just going on his football ability. I don't know him as a person. It's footballing ability. What I see on the pitch, right? For me, Wyke doesn't cut the mustard.
Right, so he's the worst player for Sunderland at this moment in time.
Yes.
One shot of, right?
Then for me, I've had 2 seasons of Max Power, and you were right, Michael. I've had 2 seasons of Max Power. He had a good start when he was scoring goals, getting on the edge of the box, scoring good goals, and then he had them 3 red cards. He had 3 red cards consecutively, didn't he? Where he got sent off straight away.
One got rescinded, but I think
there was at least 2 of them that got rescinded.
Yeah.
But
and then from there, he wasn't the same player. He's never been the same player since then, in my opinion. He doesn't do what he used to do. He used to be on the edge of the box all the time, getting shots off, being positive, and then I think maybe the captaincy role might have took an effect on that, to be honest. So
maybe.
I think Power for me has to go. And then lastly, this is a hard one for me. Like, right, I'm trying to think of the team. Probably.
I'm struggling.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think of mine, actually.
I'm trying to think of mine, but I think.
As you're thinking, if we're in League One next season, do we keep Phil Parkinson or do we change?
Change.
Change, right?
So I made the same mistake with Jack Ross last season, where I said keep him, and look what happened.
You saying that's a mistake now with Jack
I
Ross?
tell you that. I said it was a mistake. I said if I could go back, I would have got rid of him because look what happened.
Wait for the Sean's Jack Ross.
My third player has got to be, unfortunately, Conor McLaughlin.
Conor McLaughlin, right? So we'll go to Michael now. Your three. No particular order.
Oh God. Okay. Let's think. Two of Dino's are on mine here. Wyke. You've summed it up perfectly. White's in there to score goals. Doesn't look like he's going to score goals. Doesn't challenge in the air often enough, and for his side, he just doesn't deliver enough. Charlie White's one of them. Second one, again, Conor McLaughlin. I've made it clear in the past. I've tried to stay clear of him for months now. That I think he's he's a horrendous player. I think every time he plays, he's massively out of position, which is no excuse given that he'd been in the team of the season a few years ago. He should be capable of doing that. I really don't. Hey God, I really don't. I just don't rate Conor McLaughlin whatsoever. Oh, and another one. Oh, who do I bring?
There's a team there if you want to look at it. Just scroll.
Right, sorry, I'm gonna change.
Parkinson in or out if we're in League One. Parkinson in or out. Or no comment.
This is a hard one. It depends. If we're going to bother to get the players that we need, then I'd be open to give him a chance next season. If not, go. At the end of the day, his remit this season, just very quickly, my third player, and it's through no fault of his own, Grant Ledbetter probably, but that's mainly through his own mental health reasons than anyone else's.
Sure.
As far as I'll just say, for Phil Parkinson, anyone has had a couple of debates with me on Twitter. Some people have had debates with me saying, Parkinson shouldn't be able to count for this season. Garbage. Parkinson was brought in to get the club promoted. He'd had 3/4 of the season. If the season finishes, he's had 3/4 of the games to get us promoted. Failed. Should be called a question on it.
Remember last season when Jack Ross, he had a full season to get us promoted? What did you say about Jack Ross in the last season? Do you remember?
Yeah, I felt at the time I was justified in saying he should have been given 10 games.
He should have given another.
At the time.
At the time, but when I look back at it, we should have said if you fail to get your objective, you sacked.
The reason I'm saying that's mine is because that's my philosophy. What you've just said there. If Phil Parkinson doesn't get us up this season, he's had enough time. Like Jack Ross had enough time last season. That's why Jack Ross should have been sacked end of last season.
Three players
wouldn't be in this mess.
Do you want to say?
Yeah, you might want that back.
Right, first one is Charlie Wyke. Basically, he doesn't score enough goals. Doesn't offer anything really for me. So that's my first one. Second one's Duncan Watmore because he's on a high wage. Yeah. He's on a high wage, and basically
contract's out at the end of the season anyway.
Well, he'll be gone anyway. So that's got to be a plus because he's on I think he's on about 15, 20.
He doesn't deliver enough for the wages.
And that's what I'm saying. So I don't think he's ever going to recover from that serious injury he had. So that's the second one. And unfortunately, I would say Grant Ledbetter as well.
Keep Max Power in now.
Hang on, so Mr. Anti-Max Power will keep Max Power.
Sorry, Max Power.
Right, make your mind up, Grant Ledbetter.
I'll change it to Max
So
Power.
which one are you keeping, Grant Ledbetter or Max Power?
I'll keep Ledbetter and I'll get rid of Max Power.
For me, the other way around.
Right, my three players, I say Charlie Wyke's not a striker. We can't have players in the side who are not strikers. It's dubious about Will Gray because he's on a lot of money. It's a big high wager, and I think he's on decent wages, and it costs a lot of money to come in. So I'd still keep him for next season in the Championship or League One. So like I said before, Charlie Wyke's the first one. I'd probably like to see Tom Flanagan needs probably moved on, get another decent central defender in. And I think Duncan Watmore is a great lad, an intelligent man, and he'll have a future wherever he goes. A really clever man, good contact. His dad's really high up, so I think Duncan Watmore for the exactly the same reasons as Sean said. So thank you for watching the Sunday Bunch today, and I want to say thank you to Michael. Stay safe, stay clean.
Yeah.
Use a soap.
I know.
Thank you to Sean and Dino.
Hold on a minute then.
Thank you, mate.
And before I go, I want to ask you, Philly, which three players do you want shot off next season? And is it Phil Power in or out?
Phil Power.
I'm not here.
How are Phil?
No idea.
Go
on
Phil.
the fence.
Players.
He's on the fence.
How are Phil?
We'll put an out of time.
Well, let's set them on the fence.
So add an extra couple of minutes.
So please subscribe to the channel. Please like and share. Thank you for watching the Sunday Bunch and take care.